evening! Hello, welcome back to Overclock Showcase. I need to reconstitute myself. I've actually had, for the first time in ages, some busy days, and I'm feeling genuine tiredness. Interesting. Slightly interesting. But I think this kind of video can definitely kick me into gear. Well, okay, maybe not when I remember now. What Overclock we're covering. Of course, if you watched the end of last episode, you would know what I got. The next Overclock to cover was, I always forget what it's called actually. I always want to say backfeeding module, which is for the coil gun. This is actually Rewiring Mod, obviously for the Drak. It's a weird Overclock. I'm not going to be the kindest person in the world to it, but it's got an interesting concept. So basically what it does is you basically regenerate ammo while overheating. I think that's actually the best way to describe it. You basically go into an ammo regeneration state when overheating at any level of overheat, which is why, and it's going to be the first thing I'm going to say, no matter which way you spin it, manual heat dump is essential for this Overclock. I like both of the Drak's tier 5s, but I feel like manual heat dump wins out because you look at where it applies and how much useful it is where it applies. There's not much that's useful about thermal feedback loop. It's more so just the option you use if you're a rate fire fiend and you're not using something where manual heat dump is specifically useful, because it's so useful with rewiring mod and aggressive venting. Aggressive venting more so, I would say, but actually rewiring mod is more essential for it, to be honest, or it's more essential for rewiring mod, and I'll explain why as we go through. I think also is a major part of that is the penalty listed there, or slower overheat recovery, which is not something I'd really taken into sincere account. Like, that hadn't been on my mind while testing this Overclock. But less ammo obviously is, because this is the Drak's ammo Overclock, kind of. Shield battery booster is amazing, and ammo is actually one of the things it does. But rewiring mod is the big one. Which is why, thank God, it doesn't decrease damage, because the Drak's base damage is not, it's nothing to write home about. It's low, and the reason why is because it's such a fast rate of fire weapon. It's a template for these more mechanically complex overclocks, and rewiring mod is not outside of that category. It is mechanically complex overclock. It is interesting, but a conclusion that I'm going to try and pass for you, try and demonstrate, because I've already come to it myself, is that rewiring mod does exist on the weaker end of Drak overclocks, unfortunately. But let's kind of talk about what I'm actually doing and how I'm doing you a favour by using the stronger build first. This is something I would maybe not normally do, but I think the reason why I'm doing it today, first of all, neither of them are that crazy strong. That's the first thing. But they're not. I'm just not confident in the second build. I'm just not. I need to show you what I think. The two builds exist in the way that they do because of the point of the series, which is to show you two builds that I think work. Also, just notice I don't have the game audio on. I'm going to turn that on. Obviously, not too detrimental yet. Would have been if we got into the actual missions. But yeah, the point is still to show you two distinct builds that I think are viable. And I'm not doing that. I am doing that as much as I can, but I'm kind of working against the grain with this Overclock. It's really only conducive to, in my opinion, one strong build, and that's what we're looking at first. So let's talk about it. This is the AoE one. This is the one that uses Plasma Splash, because I think Plasma Splash is done well. It's done right by the Drak, I think, for the most part. But not by most of the overclocks. It's primarily there for impact deflection, I would say. It's really good with impact deflection, and now conductive thermals as well, which is also actually pretty fantastic with. And of course, it's going to pair well with anything that's sort of like aggressive venting. Personally, I'm always going to go for electricity here, but aggressive venting does make the weapon an AoE weapon, so you can kind of really double down on that if you like, and it's not a horrible idea. And also thermal liquid coolant, if you want a really generic Drak that's a bit of a crowd clearer, it's not a terrible idea either. But of course, it would be kind of weird to pair it with something that's adding a lot of direct damage, like one of these 3 overclocks. but you could still potentially do that. But rewiring mod, that's where I came to the conclusion that rewiring mod should be something that lets you equally dip your toes into either side to be a single target or an AoE weapon, and it does allow you to do that, but the end result they're distinct. The two end results, pushing it towards either AoE or single target, it's obvious which one is winning out. And like I said, it's this one. Because what the overclock does, is essentially force you to fire for a certain amount of time, but the real benefit there is the insane amount of ammo that you gain. So as long as you're using it in such a way, and this manual heat dump makes this much easier, because all you have to do is use the Drak in such a way where every time you fire with it, you go over 50% heat, which means you can overheat and gain ammo back. I actually don't know the numbers on how much you get, but I do believe it's like well over 1,000, like it's 1,400 or something. Like you get an insane amount of total ammo with this thing if you overheat constantly. And the reason why I find AoE better for that, there's two reasons. And I think the bigger one is the weirder one, which is the fact that you basically can't make the overclock do impressive single target damage. It doesn't mean that you can't fire against a Praetorian enough to need to overheat, because obviously you do, but that's kind of the problem. You're going to be overheating like 2 or maybe even 3 times, like before you kill the Praetorian. Whereas with the Splash, with this AoE version, you can kill a couple dozen grunts at points, especially the density packs. You can kill a group of grunts before overheating, and it's very easy to justify and to get there basically, and not needing direct damage either gives us even more ammo to work with. So this thing is it's still not super strong, but it's insanely ammo efficient. So let's just quickly go. So rate of fire, just to output more like sort of just exploding plasma basically, just help us get more area coverage. Ammo. Hot feet, because we're going to be overheating a lot. I don't think there's really a better option here. You actually don't want Gen 2 cooling system. Cooling when not in use is the last thing that you want. Heat per shot, I'm not sure about, because I'm pretty sure the amount of ammo you get back is based on how much heat you have, which means you've actually been using up more ammo for less heat. So I think both of the heating mods are actually off the table here. And of course, Plasma Splash and manual heat dump to make it all happen. And the simple answer to this for the secondary is anything that with big like chunk single target damage. So basically that could actually come in a lot of forms, because this is such an ammo efficient and flexible weapon for our primary. It's going to take care of most targets in isolation, although ideally they won't be in isolation. But there are actually weird, very strange breakpoint things going on with this overclock, and I'll get into that later. But you just need something that's going to do chunk damage. So you could go for explosive reload, trifork volley, even double barrel, but I wanted something a little bit more precise and ranged than double barrel, so I went for jumbo shells, especially because I normally would defer to shaped shells, because I prefer that, but jumbo shells I think was the move for this one. This is my generic jumbo shells build, so this gives us the most ammo and damage at the same time, because if you see, if you look at the ammo stat, max ammo stat, it's going to go down to, if we swap to pellets as our damage upgrade instead of direct damage, our max ammo goes down to 22. So yeah, and always take reload speed, because the way jumbo shells is, you don't really need to shoot both at the same time, especially against most like weaker targets specifically. Tungsten coated buckshot, because that's just going to help it for obvious reasons, especially against my newfound Praetorian tech. Praetorian tech being, if you don't have weak point bonus and you have arm breaking, you can shoot the Praetorian anywhere. There's no reason not to. And of course white phosphorus, because why wouldn't you? It's so rare that you're not using white phosphorus with a boomstick. In fact, I don't know. Excuse me, I cramped the burp, thank God. I don't know when you wouldn't use white phosphorus. You know, sometimes I think about maybe they should make it like a base part of the weapon, and then have white phosphorus be like increase the fire conversion and make it like 25% at base, then white phosphorus brings it back to the original. Or maybe make it slightly, God, I slipped into a different accent for a moment there. Make it slightly higher than 25%. Whatever. Boomstick. Stun sweeper. Okay, now the grenades are a little bit weird. They're going to be a little bit weird in this video. I didn't really come to a conclusion on what the best grenades were for either of these two builds, but because frankly, IFGs would probably be the best for this one. But the reason why I have found value in using something like the Stun Sweeper is because our primary weapon is desperately undestructive and doesn't kill enemies quickly. What I mean by that is, look at the other AoE options for the Drak. These two here, Impact Deflection and Conductive Thermals, they're going to kill stuff quickly. Conductive Thermals case, you might not be killing them directly with the Drak, but your secondary is very likely going to have some kind of stun on it because you're probably using the Boomstick or the Boltshark. Aggressive Venting inflicts fear. It's extremely disruptive. Rewiring Mod is and Impact Deflection is just big damage basically. Rewiring Mod though is low damage and no disruptive capabilities. All it has is ammo. So we have to factor that in, and that's why I feel like the Stun Sweeper works, because that's going to give us good coverage for. It's really for like when you encounter like a group of Macterials or something, and you kind of just want to lock them down. It makes sense for that kind of thing. And as always, it's Scout, so our main perks are Hover Boots and Beastmaster. Not much has changed. Let's just get into it. It's been 11 minutes already, so I think I need to get this show on the road. Anyway, this is it's 2 weeks ahead. Recording 2 weeks in advance. I hope everyone's well. Not going to bring up anything specific, but of course, as time goes on, the world becomes weirder and wilder and more unpredictable. So I genuinely hope everyone out there is safe and well, as much as you can be. If that makes any sense. If that feels appropriate. And I need to remember that I have chosen to not wear earphones for this. So I just have really quiet TV audio on. Bad idea, by the way. I can already tell, because I can't really hear the game. I've tried to have the TV audio low enough so that it's not going to be picked up by my mic. But I can still hear something. But, you know. What am I getting? I think I need the game audio. Yeah, so I took the opportunity to actually get on with the mission while there wasn't any enemies around, but they've shown up now. Right, Orion. So, if you've been paying attention to the ammo count, you will notice, we're barely using any ammo, but we're also not killing things very fast. So, I remember what I said, right? This is, for me, this is the best build I've been able to, like, divine for Rewiring Mod. But, the bitter, hard, ugly truth is, it's not a strong overclock. It is a weak, and it is a weak overclock. It's weak. I think that's fairly. I'm okay with saying that. I didn't want to say that because I like that it still kind of backs up the notion, the observation that can be made that the Drak has a very varied and diverse and interesting selection of overclocks. And it still does, because I think it is an interesting idea, but it is weak. It's not providing enough for what. It's not even for what you're losing, because you're not actually losing that much. You are losing control over how you use the weapon, though, if you want to be ammo efficient, which you probably do. Yeah, so you do lose something, and it's not good enough. Like, what you gain is not good enough for what you lose here. Except, okay, let's try and demonstrate something here. You can just about, if you're really careful, or if you kind of just get good at it, you can, with a single grunt, use enough ammo to build the heat meter up to the point where you can heat dump. It is feasible, and it's bizarre, and I wouldn't recommend it in most cases because the timing is quite finicky, but it is interesting. But what that kind of also demonstrates is the generally unimpressive damage output, I suppose, that this thing has. There's a reason why I'm not, I don't have more enemies on, like I normally would, on the Hazard 5 Plus options. Which is a common thing for Scout in these videos. I'll say that, I should mention that, but it felt particularly relevant here. I did not feel like the builds I was showing off could back up, would be backed up by Hazard 5 Plus. I felt like I would very likely fail. I'm not entirely convinced I'll succeed anyway, you know? This is generally unimpressive. It's like a weird thing that gives the Drak like a forced magazine in a way. You could almost see it like that, and I don't think that's a disingenuous lens to view it through. But when you do view that through that lens, it's still bad. And I'm not saying it's a generous way to see it, but it is better than just thinking of it as just forcing you to shoot a certain amount, otherwise you lose ammo. And that's technically true. That is what the overclock is doing. You do have to shoot a certain amount, otherwise you have much less space ammo. But if you do line up, if you do it, and by the way, you should, because, and I'm going to show you now. So we're on 353 ammo right now, and I'm going to go all the way up to maximum. Yeah, so there's a 13 ammo difference between when I... Yeah. And you use about 50, roughly 50, so you save well over 30 ammo. So most of the time, even if you end up killing whatever you're shooting before you overheat, you should probably just go all the way anyway. In fact, the most guaranteed way to make sure you're efficient with things is to literally go all the way, which is kind of crazy. Like if you find a single grunt and then boss code's already tapped it a little bit, so it's low, and there's nothing else around, you should probably just shoot until you overheat. Like don't even manual heat them, just shoot until you overheat, because you know that's the way you're going to save the most ammo. Yeah, it's a strange overclock. I'll see you next time. I can hear them. They're coming after me. Okay. Obviously, this is going to involve a fair bit of kiting and jumping around enemies. Basically, this would be a lot worse. If this was like Engineer or something, God, we'd be in trouble. Bad times all around there. But on Scout, it's kind of the best place for something like this to be. But that's also because he's Scout. He's kind of like, there's not as much of a priority to give him very strong AoE options. Because he's more of a kiter and just a speed demon, basically. Scout, in my opinion, is, weirdly enough, almost the most designed for co-op, if that makes any sense. Because he has the lowest killing power. Whereas everyone else, I think it's sort of, they are roughly equal. Driller probably ekes out as having the most, but he also has the most sort of limits on like weapon functionality, right? Like it's all like spray and close range and stuff like that, and the stuff that isn't like just close range spray weapons is like very low damage, like CBACA and the EPC and the wave cooker. It's secondaries. But Scout is very much like he does not have. He's got very strong crowd control and single target and mobility, but because this game is a horde shooter. I don't know why I said it like that, but because this game's a horde shooter, as soon as you get into like high difficulties where there are a lot of enemies and very often also ones with high, like sometimes in some cases dozens of enemies that have decent amounts of health to reckon with, Scout suddenly becomes much less operable. He can't keep track of all that stuff at once. He can kill an individual grunt very quickly with any of his weapons, but maybe not like say 40 grunts. You can kill an individual Praetorian very quickly, but maybe not let's say 4 Praetorians amidst 40 grunts, you know? But you can outrun them pretty much forever if you wanted to. But that's not useful when it comes to making sure the caves are safe for the mission to be completed. Not that that's an essential part of technically completing a mission, but it is also that, like, spiritually speaking. Conceptually, it is necessary to have the caves be safe and clear of enemies. Anyway, yes, we will be doing that core stone that you saw, because it's the thing. It's the season 5 thing. I mean, we are about to cross a year, I think, if not already. Actually, sorry. When recording comes out, we would have crossed over a year since season 5, and it's still a great season, and I'm still excited for roll call. So that gets us to doing something right, or if they did something right, and then went on to do something hopefully even more right. Or Steve. I don't know what's with the exploders. There was the grunt thing, because obviously those extra. You might need to shoot a few extra bits of plasma before you can like heat up, but it's worth it because you gain it back basically. You're definitely gaining back those extra ones and more by overheating. So just do it. It's fine. What? That was some weird. That must have been some crazy RNG to not have enough pellets hit that thing to kill it. Good old stun sweeper. Anyway. Pew! Pew! Didn't need to do that. I do need to grab a Steve though. I'm just gonna grab one of these guys. Okay, why not? Actually, I don't really need to leave because I was gonna go back to the refinery and get Bosco to start working on the pipeline, but I kind of need Bosco around to quickly mine this thing. So let's do that right now. Come on, Bozzy. Alright, lads, you ready? You ready? You're not ready. Now, I know that this thing is not going to kill these core spawns quickly. I'm not a fool. I knew what I was signing up for. But it should still be able to kill them. In fact, I can tell you right now, Hot Feet is helping a lot here. For the run and gun. So Hot Feet is more than just the fact that it's like a process of elimination. It's more than that. Although I do need Bosco on the core stone, I think. There's quite a lot of them. Look at that. Didn't even use half my ammo. I started on less than half, and I still have more than half. And I was really ammo dumping. Not that that's actually that impressive. You wouldn't expect an event necessarily to soak up like 50% of your ammo, but they can. I'm being attacked. Actually, not sure by what. I think is it literally just 2 max errors. Amazing. Oh, nope, there's more. I can hear more. Hello, friends. But yeah, I didn't really go into much detail about why you want a manual heat dump flow over normally overheating more. Well, first of all, manual heat dump cuts down the time by itself, which means overheating fully means more time before you start shooting anyway. And the overclock has an overheat duration penalty. Was it a penalty? Was it lower overheat recovery? Yes, that's what that is. Recovering from overheating. So it's a lot slower than manual heat dumping. Manual heat dumping is still impacted by the fact that it has an overheat duration penalty. That's true. But it's still the much lesser of 2 evils in this case, if that makes sense. Anyway, Bosku should be about to finish. He's done. Look at that. So I should be able to start this before next swarm shows up. Oh, I actually didn't realise I have. This actually is more than half ammo on the Boomstick as well. Although I literally only used that against the core stone itself. Anyway, so let's just ride out this mission, I guess. Presser. Yeah, see, that's good RNG there for pellet spread. That's how it should be. I'm gonna grab this slasher. The slashers, I have realised, they are probably the best Eve because they stun enemies. I mean, that's pretty great. It does actually increase the survivability as well because it means they're like stunning, for example, Praetorians and interrupting their attacks. Like, sure, the guard is going to do well, especially on something like regenerative bugs. The guard basically becomes this hilariously unkillable like taunter, like just creatures just there to kite enemies. And it's great, but I think the slasher is quite a dastardly thing. It's going to do you very well. I kind of prioritize slashers nowadays with Beastmaster. That wasn't very smart, by the way. It's not very smart. I mean, I was already almost letting myself die, but I really almost let myself die. Oh, Buzzkill could drop that. But sometimes I forget how long I've been playing this game for. How, like, it's just etched into my brain. Like, everything about it is just so intrinsic. Doesn't make me the most skilled player, but I know fucking everything. I just know everything. It's weird. I don't always feel like I do, but I would be surprised if there's a single thing about DLG that I don't know. Am I using resupplier? I am. Okay. Cool. Alright, let's grab these Enor pearls for no reason. Because I really don't need them. Wow! Look at that. Damn it, fully overheated again. Damn it. I didn't overheat. Oh well. But the beauty actually of this build, one of the best things about it is actually the ammo, because obviously Rewiring Mod is bringing most of that extra ammo, but by taking the ammo mod as well, yeah, you can afford to do things. You can afford to not overheat 100% of the time. Like, you don't need to do it literally every time. You're wondering why I did what I just did, where I jumped backwards off the ledge. So the oppressor didn't do it itself, but it wouldn't have made a difference when I really think about it. Also, I like jumbo shells, but it's not the most impressive thing in the world, where it kind of took like 6 shots to kill that oppressor. But you know, that's not actually that bad. And you're going to combine it with other stuff anyway. It's fine. It's fine. It's just with like conductive thermals or something, it would be gone in like 2 shots. It's crazy. That overclock is so good. God, I love conductive thermals. Like, it's why I'm literally looking forward to next time I have to use the boomstick, right, as like the main weapon of the video, because I just know I'm going to be using conductive thermals. Like, I know it. It's no chance I'm not going to use conductive thermals, because if it's the boomstick, I will be able to excuse it. I've already done. Actually, I haven't done double barrel, I guess. Or have I? Have I done double barrel? No, I've only done 1 boomstick overclock and it's special powder. So, yeah. All of them are going to be able to justify conductive thermals. Jumbo shells and shape shells specifically are I find to be particularly good with it, because actually, when you think about it, double barrel's doing some weird stuff where it's taking the fact that the heat is supposedly applied to the blast wave more seriously than I feel like it has been before. I feel like very often the blast wave doesn't apply heat, but it almost feels like, and it is meant to, by the way, but it almost feels like it only actually does it when you apply double barrel, because it is very good at setting things on fire. Like, you can't set, with the amount of direct damage the jumbo shells is doing, like with the pellets, you can't set a Praetorian on fire in 2 shots with that. It's not how it works. So I can tell that it is applying the fire damage to the blast wave. I just feel like it doesn't do that normally, even though it's supposed to. It's like, it's been that way, like, in the code since the beginning, but it almost feels like it doesn't do that. Anyway, pretty much done with this mission. So yeah, this is the better of the 2, like I said. I think it presents a decent case for rewiring mod as just this crazy, massive ammo, flexible crowd clearer. You kind of use it against pretty much anything and not be too worried about ammo efficiency, as long as you're willing to shoot for a weird amount of time sometimes. Like, sometimes just overshoot, just to overheat, but you still wind up having a shit ton more ammo. Like, literally, I guess you would only need to use as long as you're using more than 13 ammo, you're saving ammo. Like, if you overheat. And you're always using 13 ammo because you need to use more than that to overheat at all. Even with, like, manual heat dump where you can overheat at 50%. So, it's weird. It's not bad. It's not bad. Weak, yes, we're still going with that, especially in comparison to what other offerings the Drak has. It doesn't look very impressive. But it's still going to serve you just fine as long as you're willing to adjust your playstyle a bit. That's kind of a decent criticism of it, in my opinion, as well, is that it does force a playstyle change for something that just isn't really strong enough to justify it. But it's not so weak that it's insulting, either. If that makes sense. Do I want to do that? What's the other bit? No, I don't. Duck and cover is sometimes a decent idea for these videos. But not this time. I think this might... Gunk seeds. I can do that. It's going to put some pressure on. I know I'll get myself in for with that. I can do it. Even though the other build is not that great. So let's get to it. Here it is. First of all, though, I think this guy looks pretty good. And I might actually use this as the thumbnail Drak. Maybe? But he does look good, doesn't he? It's weird because it's combining 2 like frameworks and paint jobs on both things that don't really actually match, because I'm using well, first stripe on the weapon, but that's not what I have on the armor, it's something else. And 4th relic on the gun, but of course this is rock breaker armor. But I think it works. I think it really works. it works better than the build does. So this is a single target version of Rewiring Mod. And you might have already guessed one of the problems with this, and I'll tell you once I'm done going through the mods. But projectile speed, I think this one is you could go for rate of fire. I just want that reliability at range because that suits a single target thing a bit more. Damage, of course, otherwise we're just not differentiating, and the damage would be so hilariously pathetic if we didn't take it. Accuracy, I think, is kind of required, but in some ways I do wish I was using hot feet. Armor breaking, unfortunately, I think this is required. I wish it wasn't. I would much rather be using overcharged PCF, but the armor is what's going to get in this thing's way of dealing with certain single targets. Things like stinger tails and spreaders, good examples. Brundles, these are things where you're not going to get much use out of Plasma Splash there. Not Plasma Splash, sorry, Plasma Splash was actually do fine against them. Overcharged PCF, I should have tried it. I never actually tried it. I do think that's a bit of a problem because obviously something that you gain from Rewiring Mod is a ridiculous amount of ammo. So pelting an enemy's armor is not the worst thing in the world. But destructive resonance amp does, it means we're going to kill them quicker. So, and manual heat dump, that's obvious. Now the problem that I was alluding to, that you might have already guessed, is that weird grunt thing is going to kind of get flipped a little bit because now we're killing single targets much quicker. So it actually almost doesn't apply. In some cases, I'm probably not going to shoot, like overkill the grunt just so I can overheat. At the same time, you kind of want to because you have less ammo. So then that makes it weird. That makes Rewiring Mod puts in a weird position where even though it's an overclock that gives you an absurd amount of ammo, you kind of also should be using the ammo upgrade with it, and I think that's a little bit fucked up. But yeah, that's our weird single target Drak, and here's my Boltshark built to cover for it. Now this is more deliberate than it looks because this is definitely a fallback of mine, which is the specialist with explosive chemical bolts. Yeah, it is a fallback build for sure. I take expanded special quiver to get lots of chemical bolts, reload speed. Actually, these two are interchangeable, but radio transmitter always, and potent special bolts. Fancy module could be okay. Not a terrible idea. But there are a couple of reasons. First of all, there's a big reason, and it's kind of it goes across the entire Boltshark, and it's why I actually did want to use pheromone bolts, but I just couldn't quite crack it. Disruptive capabilities. It has them. The Boltshark stuns on hit from both types of bolts, and the chemical bolts, when they cause an explosion, that explosion stuns and fears. So we do get a good amount of crowd control from this thing. You might be wondering, well, if you want crowd control and AoE, use fire bolts and pheromone bolts, and that would be valid. And this doesn't actually have anything to do with dreadnoughts, even though I was testing this build on elimination a lot. It's not to do with that. It's actually to do with the fact that having normal bolts is actually very nice here, because normal bolts allow us to take care of certain targets. Basically, anything in the region of an acid splitter, health-wise, with a single bolt, and to just not have to worry about it. And yep, you can technically do that with fire bolts. True. But oh god, should I be using firebolt? Look, it doesn't matter. This is what I've landed on, so I'm using it. But you still see what I'm saying. IFG though, the IFG is mainly there for the chemical bolts. It helps group enemies up. It's not going to be helping the Drak that much. It will in certain cases, because what we will still do on occasion is still use this thing to pick off like small groups of enemies, because we have to shoot to overheat. So if that means shooting more than one enemy, then so be it. Even if it is our single target option. Also, fuck pots of gold. If I encounter a Crassus, I'm simply going to kill myself. Don't do that. It's not advice. Joke. Anyway. Dry mouth. Because last night I did my usual. I'll stay back a bit because I've had a busy couple of days. My schedule's been a bit reshuffled a bit, and ended up having pizza out. I have a weird routine. I don't think it's that weird, but I do stick to it quite dogmatically, which is a pizza night on Friday, and I will also have a cider and watch a film. film night as well. Pizza film night. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's stupid. Kind of gives meaning and structure to the week. Oh shit! Hold on. You are the one who's going to get the shaft. Okay, good. Oh, well done, Bosco. I just realised how much I don't like dunk seats with this, because I can't really justify shooting them. So this thing's damage might seem okay at first, but you're gonna see why it's not so great when we fight something like a Praetorian. Anyway, so basically I record on Sundays, and because I was out on Friday and ended up having pizza out, I still wanted to have my normal routine, which would be the film and the cider the following day. So I moved it to Saturday, but I had something else for dinner. Now normally the pizza's enough to do this, where the pizza and the cider together is a lot of sodium and acid, basically. So it dries the fuck out my mouth, literally, for the entire next day. So I'm usually good by Sunday, which means I'm usually not feeling like this during these recordings. But I still decided to have something yesterday. I had decided, I watched a film, and I had a kebab. A local kebab place. So that's actually, I had a wrap, actually. A wrap from the kebab place. It was actually really nice. Point is, though, once again, lots of sodium, lots of salt and acid. And so my mouth is dry as fuck. But the film that I watched was, well, it's been and gone now, I suppose. It's kind of probably not of particular cultural relevancy at the moment. It was a new film on Amazon Prime, which is Deep Cover, which is starring Mr. Orlando Bloom. And if you anyone knows anything about me, you know how big of a Tolkien fan I am. And also, by extension, not quite this extreme, but Pirates of the Caribbean, big fan as well. So Orlando Bloom I've always kind of liked, and he's not like doesn't show up too much anymore. So it's just kind of cool to see him, and he's actually really good in the film, because I don't like comedy films, but it was actually really, really funny. And I think a lot of that is owed to Nick Mohammed, who is one of the other leads. He's hilarious. But like it was actually a really great film. Surprisingly enough, it doesn't like it's the kind of film doesn't look like it's going to be great. It has like a funny premise, but it doesn't give like great like readings at first sight. But it was actually really good. And that's just a little tangent, just to get into the flow of things, because it's a point extraction. I'm very likely not going to cut any footage from this mission, even if it's a bit of a lull right now. So I'm talking to you about a movie instead. Bill me. But yeah, when it comes to Drak single target, also I'm just going to be a piece of shit, because it's very accurate. It's only going to take one shot to get these gug seats down, I suppose. When it comes to Drak single target, I'm absolutely a thermal. To be honest, I haven't used it in so long. I've actually kind of forgotten what it's called. Is it thermal feedback loop? I don't think it's the fire one. I'm that kind of guy. I like that overclock a lot. I think it's really good. So that would be my go-to. Or conductive thermals, and then I get the actual single target from the secondary. It's also a fairly common way for me to do things. It's not the position I want to be in. Okay, fuck it. You can see why this thing's not that great. There you go. IFG'd. Used almost up until overheat. Did about half its health. Who's the lowest one? I guess you're really the lowest one, aren't you? I need to blow one of these Praetorians up, I think. Doesn't help that I have the accuracy of a drunken lobster. Yeah. think that's what I get for ragging on this build so much. I get killed by a fucking vine.
Thanks, Bosco.
Oh well. What the fuck? How did I get stuck in there? Like, I genuinely don't know what was stopping me from moving in that moment. Please, I just want the sugar. I just really want the red sugar. Please. Thank you. God, what a... Oh, wow.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve! Steve's dead.
Help me mine this.
And there you go. Not particularly impressive, I must say. What's next? What's next? Smart rifle. Oh no, not the smart rifle. Oh god. Well, okay. It could be Neuro Lasso. It could be. Okay, you know what? Actually, no. I think I'm in a good enough place where I can find Neuro Lasso funny. If it gives me Neuro Lasso. I think.
Another day at the office.
I'm in a weird spot where I don't know if I'm like just about constitution to find that funny, or if my constitution's low enough where getting Neuro Lasso is actually going to really bum me out. I'm actually not sure where I'm at the moment. We'll find out if I get Neuro Lasso or not. What was it last time? I got a racer last time, and that's the problem with the fucking smart rifle. The racer was pretty bad. The other clean armor break module would also be pretty bad. Neuro Lasso would be bad. Done smart trigger, obviously. The other options are Executioner, Seeker rounds, and explosive chemical rounds. Now, all of those are good, but yeah, it's like a 50-50 split, basically. Actually, I guess it's slightly more positive now, because basically we've got 5 left in the smart rifle, and 3 of them are good. But 2 of them are bad, and both of them are... they're both quite bad. Because armor breaking module is just so... it's just so unfulfilling of an overclock. You know? Like, it's got nothing going for it. It's such a sad, clean overclock. It's clearly... it's like a clearly filler for the turret overclock they didn't finish. Or scrapped, sorry. I should say scrapped, really. I should say didn't finish down to a little bit more like critical. I'm not critical of the fact that they cut an overclock. I'm critical of the one that they put in its place. It's clearly like a rushed nothing concept, you know? Yeah, yeah. There is something kind of nice about shooting an enemy with chemical bolt and killing them with it immediately. It's really nice, actually. You know, you gotta take the wins where you can find them. Take the wins, you know, every cloud. I did actually. So I think I started with something very similar to this when I was working on this build. But it did go through one very extreme iteration, which was actually gas recycling. So I was actually almost used the Zukovs on this build. And the concept behind that is that both weapons are basically just general killers of any given thing. And you'll just sort of work your way through hordes by just spraying at them. And not having a really dedicated AoE tool. It was bad. I really wish it wasn't, because I think that playstyle should have a place, and I think it definitely does, especially on something like Gunner. Gunner can pull that off. Driller basically can't, because it's almost impossible to make a build like that. But yeah, it doesn't have a huge place in Deep Rock. Very often you are dedicating your weapons to the specific roles, which is how I like to build builds in games. So it doesn't piss me off in any way. Right. But it was a shame that I couldn't get that to work. I mean, I would have been happy if it did. Yeah. But the thing is about, I mentioned that thing earlier where I was like, oh, do I actually switch to like fire bolts like right now? And I almost did, and the reason why is it's really for enemies like the Spreader, because I can't justify taking less chemical bolts. I'm already below half of them anyway. But the fire bolts would provide insane AoE, but also likely kill something like a Spreader with one bolt. I think they can kill a Spreader with one bolt, I'm not sure. But what I do know is that these bolts don't. Even if you hit them directly in the weak spot, it's not a one-hit kill. Which is most upsetting. Christ. Oh, not the guard. Oh, no. Okay, fine. Yeah, I've got to take care of those Spreaders. Jesus, what am I doing? Motherfucker. Oh. Well, I will say, I never normally hit the Spreader's weak point from the front. That is a rare feat. Right. No! What am I doing? Oh, no! That's why they call me Major Fuck Up. Speaking of fuck ups, I haven't prepared the Wheel of Fortune just yet for this one. And I clearly don't resupply either. Alright, it's time to pull up the big boy pants. Okay. Quarks. Are there any exposed at the moment? There's one over there. I will go over here, because I reckon there's probably one in this tunnel. I'm thinking about the fact that I've just recently finished Oblivion. We're not doing that. We're not doing this, by the way. Fuck this thing. Just recently finished Oblivion's main quest, and I can't tell if I want to keep playing it or not. Because I did want to do certain things. I want to do like Dark Brotherhood, the Thieves Guild, and the Arena, and the Shivering Isles. Those are the main things I want to do. But I've done the main quest, and now I'm just like, ugh. Especially because I want to play Expedition 33 more than I want to play Oblivion. I don't know. I think Oblivion is good though. I think it's got a lot of problems. Don't get me wrong. And I actually, I think when you look at what's out at the time, I think Morrowind, I can give a lot of excuses to. I can give it a lot of leeway. But when you look at what was out at the time of Morrowind, Oblivion, fucking hell. Brain rot is real. You look at what was out around the time of Oblivion, there were higher standards being met than what Oblivion was meeting. And that's why, I'm going to be honest, I know that people would disagree with this. I think a lot of I think a lot of Morrowind fans will agree with what I'm about to say, maybe. But I know that there's a lot of weird Oblivion people who really hold it on a pedestal. I don't know why, because there's no way people really think Oblivion's better than Skyrim. Because it's just not. And so I want to extend that to the fact that people really do hate Skyrim, like, unfairly. It's a great game. People just like to pretend it's not because it's like pop-y. It's like a pop game almost, like a pop RPG in its sort of presentation. But I think it's great. It's got so many good things about it. I mean, the soundtrack is something to point to, first of all. The soundtrack and the setting, it's just ridiculously good. I've heard people say like Oblivion's soundtrack is like much better than Skyrim's, which is insane. Skyrim's soundtrack is one of the best video game soundtracks of all time. Oblivion's is very lofty and like jovially medieval in not so much, but more than the other Elder Scrolls soundtracks. It's a little bit like almost a bit too camp in a way. It's still great and iconic, but Skyrim really just blows it out of the water. Sorry, Oblivitards. Unfortunately, I shouldn't really use the Elder Scrolls slur so much because I am Sky Baby. Simply am. Anyway. Now I've got to face a real question. Do I get the Gunk Seeds? No, I don't. And that is part of the conclusion about this overclock and about this build. I am not comfortable attempting to finish that secondary objective. I mean, I'm barely comfortable I'm going to finish the mission as is.
Oh no! That will let the moisture in. Try top down! Superheated!
Fuck, I thought I had a power attack. Trust me, I'm not trying to sabotage this. The build is just not like conducive to the game flow that you want. That sort of that I tend to find with a build that guides me into playing well with it. And I think that sounds like weird, like conceptual bullshit, but in practice, I've found it to be very real. I lost. There you go. I think it's a real thing though. I think that was my fault. That was a reckless resupply though. So I could have scavenged for red sugar first and kited enemies away, I know that. But it is a real thing. I think certain builds, what I gravitate towards are builds that sort of where I slip into the game flow where I'm playing competently. And a build does not inherently have that. Obviously, what I've talked about a lot before is like having the distinct roles and where the build is constructed in such a way where you can encounter any scenario and you know exactly what to do with the tools that you have. That's kind of another way of saying it, actually. Rather saying that the build guides you into this game flow is another way of saying that. Build kind of has a solution for everything, or at least something that you can reasonably apply to any given scenario. Like something that is obviously the best thing to do with that build given the scenario. Doesn't mean it's going to just immediately take care of it, but it's still the best option. And that build for me, it really didn't have that, and I just don't know how else I would have constructed it. I tried the thing of having both weapons be sort of relatively equal. Of course, there is the element of there's always a chance that the answer lies in like the boomstick, for example, and then that's the video getting in the way of the answer because I can't use. I've decided, I should say, that I can't use two of the same weapon for the other weapon that isn't the one the focus overclock is on. But still, so that was Rewiring Mod. Yeah, it's not a great overclock. It's got some stuff going for it. I think you can get some real, like, insane flexibility and ammo efficiency out of it as an AoE, like, sort of just crowd, like, spray and pray tool. As long as you're willing to run and gun and change your playstyle a bit. But does not mean it's beating out the other options, especially aggressive venting. In fact, all of the options. Single target is obviously been proven. If you want single target, go for something else. But even the AoE side of things, all the other options are marginally, massively better. Do something else. Rewiring Mod is probably the worst overclock on the Drak. The thing is, there is this thing. Literally TLC. It's literally tender loving care. And I don't know what to make of it. I've never used it because why would you? The Drak really relies on being bumped up like a notch by its overclocks, and this just doesn't do that. I will very likely not hate it, but it's not impressing me just by looking at it at all. But that's why I kind of almost don't count it, because it's not offensive. Rewiring Mod has actual drawbacks. TLC does not. Anyway, that's it. Obviously, if you want to know what the next overclock is, you can stay to the very end. But until then, this has been Overclock Showcase. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to see more stuff like this, and you want to stay on top of everything to do deep rock and roll core, then also make sure to click the bell. Thank you as always to our member, Boxfox Scoot. And I'll see you next week for the Smart Rifle. Now, to find out what Smart Rifle Overclock that will be. Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with how this works, we do it by numbers. I don't know why my brain slowed down for this. So basically, I number the overclocks on the weapon left to right, top to bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we knock out ones we've already got. So that is 1 and 6, and I bring up. I actually need to adjust it quickly. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. My incredible James Gunn themed Wheel of Fortune will tell us. I obviously have 6 on there for some reason. It should be 7. In fact, I've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Basically, I've done this as if Smart Trigger never existed, but that's easy to translate for me. I'm sorry if it comes up as confusing for you. Are you shitting me? He's literally pointing at the 4, which is Executioner. We got 6, which is fucking Armor Break module. It's all over. Now. Oh, God. No. It's still good to get these out the way, but I'm not happy about it. It fucking sucks. It's an awful overclock. It's filler. But that'll be next week. Arm Break module. Look forward to that. If you can. And now, I find the drink that is best suited to Rewiring Mod. I feel like, I don't know why, I got a feeling that drink does exist. You know, if you know what I mean. But there is a drink that makes the most sense for that. I lied, it definitely isn't. I'm just going to take a randomizer.
Drinking randomizer is such a quick way to become fashionable. Pour 'em up, Lloyd.
So Unbreak module, because I need to do that Industrial Sabotage within like this tenure of practicing with engineer. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to force myself into some real bullshit here. I'm not going to. It's not going to be bullshit. Don't worry, I'm not going to play this whole mission on camera. That's going to get out of the way. I've been putting it off, and I don't know why I've been putting it off. I don't have an inherent problem with. I don't have a massive problem with Industrial Sabotage, but it hasn't been appealing to me to actually play it like legitimately. So I'm just gonna do this bullshit. Let's see what build it's given us. It's Hazard 1, I'm sure. There's no way I can't do this. Right, you'd think so. In fact, what you should do is actually check my hours in game in a moment. I should be able to see what happened now, right? Whoa, okay. Minimal clips, built just fine. I wouldn't have taken extended clip, I would have taken increased focus shot damage. I think that makes sense, but overall, that's not bad. And a Boomstick built actually very well to be like a generalist crowd clearer. And pheromone canisters. Do a friendly though. Got friendly. We've got hover boots. And I will. You know what? This is actually one of the more like cohesive builds I've ever gotten from Randomizer. Anyway, I'm actually going to step out the drop pod just to make sure, because I'll have to do this next time I like clock in on the game basically. So I want to at least have left the drop pod to force myself into it. But yeah. All right. Let's have a quick look at my hours before I truly say goodbye. That's another thing that's getting in the way of me like getting through games. I'm still playing shitloads of Hades, and it's not even close to stopping. I'm hooked again. Anyway, let's have a look. Sheldon, what's in the news section? Nothing. It just stopped. It just stopped at season 3. Anyway, still haven't got what's the one I haven't got still? I guess it'd be at the bottom, right? Yeah. Every single barrel into the drop pod. Okay, whatever. Right. 162 days. I think Tyler is second. 65 days. Yeah. Okay. Let's convert that into hours. I did this before, but not super recently, so I don't know for sure. But I am just going to do the calculation. 262 times 24. 6,000. Okay, so 2 plus 18. Might as well. 6,306. But a lot of that, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, but most of that is not mission time. Because I think your mission time when you go to the terminal that shows that in game, I think that is based on unpaused mission time. So technically, most of my time in game is either paused or in space rig, and that technically makes more sense. Kind of. That's just kind of the way that I am. That's not me. I'm not actively sitting there on a pause menu or always actively running around space rig. Because usually when I've left it open to do something else, or even got distracted by still like in my room, like just doing something else. Like it's not that weird. Anyway, I've got to go. Bye.